So good morning to everyone. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the memory management, that is comes under third unit. Do you have any doubts from first unit and second unit? So let me know. We will we will recheck once again. Okay, we will review once again. So I have given you time, but the participants are only 60. It is very important. So I'm waiting for the participants. Okay, let me start the class. Memory management, right? Under the memory management, so these are the table of contents we are going to handle. The first one is a background. It means what is a memory management, introduction to the memory management. And then we need to go for a swapping. So what happened? Voice is not audible. Okay, let me check. Is it okay now? Is my voice audible to you now? So anyone?
మ్యామ్ ఇంకొంచెం రైస్ చేయరా
Okay. Is it okay now?
ఓకే మ్యామ్ థ్యాంక్ యూ
Okay. So in the memory management, we are going to discuss about the following topics. The first one is a background, and then swapping we need to discuss, contiguous memory location, paging, structure of the page table, and segmentation. So in the second chapter, I think we have discussed with the help of some diagrams, as well as we have discussed some problems with problems. So mainly the entire memory management is depending upon the diagrams and the little bit logic you need to have. Then it will be very comfortable to you to understand. First of all, you need to understand the diagram, and then you need to apply some little logic. Why the diagram look like? Then automatically it is very easy for you to understand the third unit. Okay. So let me explain the first topic, background. So as I told you earlier, so where the program need to be available in the system, initially the program resides in the secondary memory. So when it is loaded from secondary memory to main memory, so whenever we want to execute the program, so the program need to be loaded to the main memory from the secondary memory. That means from the disk. Disk is a secondary memory device. So initially the program will be stored in the disk. So whenever you want to run the program need to be loaded from secondary memory disk to main memory. So what is the reason of loading the program into the main memory? Why? Because initially the program is in the secondary memory, resides in the secondary memory, that is disk. CPU cannot access the secondary memory. So what you have to do? So that the program need to be loaded into the main memory for the execution. Okay. So it is the responsibility of the operating system to allocate some memory to the user program. I already told you the entire main memory is divided into two partitions. The first partition is for operating system and the second partition for user area. Okay, so the entire user area is divided into blocks. Okay, based upon the program size and availability of a blocks, operating system allocates memory to the process. You got my point? I repeat once again. The entire main memory is divided into two parts. The first part is occupied by the operating system and the remaining part is for user area. The entire user area is divided into blocks. Okay. So whenever we want to execute a program, we need to load the program from secondary memory to main memory. Okay, so whenever you want to load into the main memory, it is the responsibility of the operating system to allocate memory block to the program. Okay, what is the need of allocating main memory to the program? Because CPU can access only the secondary memory, it cannot access the secondary memory. So for the execution, the program need to be available in the main memory. Once it completes its execution, again the operating system will deallocate the memory which was allocated to the process for execution. Okay, once it completes its execution task, that means process enter into the termination stage after completing its execution. Automatically, whenever it moves to the termination state, automatically the memory which was allocated to that particular process will be deallocated. Okay, so it is the responsibility of your operating system to allocate the memory to the process and deallocate the memory to the from the process. Okay, so now observe the slide. Okay, program must be brought into the main memory and placed within the process for it to be run. That means whatever the process we want to execute, all the process need to be in the main memory, right? So whenever we want to execute the instruction of a particular process, we need to access the um, address space which was allocated to that particular process. For example, P1 was assigned some memory allocation, some memory. So whenever we want to execute the P1's instruction, the address of that particular instruction needs to be within the space, within the memory space which was allocated to that particular process one. We should not go to the P2's address space and we should not go to the P3's address space. Okay. So whatever the address space allocated to the P1 process, we need to be execute the instructions within that particular address space only. Okay. If you try to access the address which was allocated to the other process, then operating system will treat it as a illegal access. Okay, automatically your process will be abnormally terminated. Okay, it was a secondary point. No need to discuss the entire information right now. So what by this slide, what you need to understand is initially the program resides in the secondary memory. So whenever you want to execute the program need to be loaded from secondary memory disk to main memory. Okay, in order to run the process. That is the first point. And the second point, obviously, I already told you in the when we discussed about a memory hierarchy or a storage hierarchy, there are different levels of memories. The first one is the registers, and then cache, and then main memory. After that, secondary memory. What are the secondary memory devices? Electronic disk, magnetic disk, optical disk, magnetic tapes. All those are called as secondary devices. So we have discussed when we talk about storage hierarchy already. Okay. So the first three things, registers, cache, and main memory are accessible to the CPU. Registers, cache, main memory. The first three in the memory hierarchy are accessible to the CPU directly. CPU cannot access the secondary memory devices such as electronic disk, magnetic disk, optical disk, and the magnetic tape. The below four in the storage hierarchy are not accessible to the CPU. Okay. Coming to the second point, so main memory and registers are only storage CPU can access directly. That means CPU can access the main memory, CPU can access the registers, and CPU can access the cache. These three things are accessible to the CPU. From where CPU can access in a faster manner. So registers are in the CPU itself. So registers are available within the CPU. So it is very comfortable to the CPU to access the registers. So that registers can be accessible to the CPU within no time. That means within one clock cycle or less than a clock cycle, registers are accessible to the CPU. That is the third point. Why they are accessible within a one clock cycle or less than one clock cycle? Because registers are available in the CPU. Okay. So that is the reason why registers are more costliest storage devices. Registers are very costly. And the second point is accessing speed is very high as they are in the CPU. And the third point what you need to understand is registers can hold very less information. Registers can hold only operand values. Okay, they are within the register, so they are very fast and very costly when compared to the other memory, right? And the next point is main memory. So main memory is accessible to the CPU, but it takes more CPU cycles. In order to access the information which is in the main memory, it took so many CPU cycles. Okay, so much of time, that means. And next, where the cache is available in the hierarchy, also the cache is available in between the registers and the main memory. So whatever the information we use frequently, we keep that information into the cache. What are the instructions which are accessible to the CPU frequently? Those instructions usually we kept in the cache. Okay, where the cache is available, cache is in between the main memory and the CPU registers. Okay, so after the registers, from where the CPU can access the information with less cycles, cache. Why? Because cache is near to the CPU. So first CPU can access the registers with one clock time, one clock cycle time, or less than one clock cycle time, and then cache is near to the CPU, so that the CPU cache is the next fastest memory device. And then coming to main memory, after the registers and cache, the main memory is the only memory can accessible by the CPU. Okay. And then whenever you are accessing the main memory, there need to be some protection. What is the need for the protection? Okay, as I told you, so observe this particular diagram. Observe this particular diagram. So there are two types of addresses. One is base address and the second one is the limit address. So what is the base address here? For example, this is the process, this is operating, this is entire main memory. So as I told you, when we discussed the introduction to the operating system in some textbooks, the operating system in the upper part, in some textbooks, the operating system may be in the lower part, but operating system will start from the 0th location. Okay, here the 0 in this particular diagram, so the operating system in the top, but it starts at 0th location. Starts from 0th memory location. Okay, so after the operating system, the entire remaining part is used for the memory. Entire remaining part is used for the user area. Okay, so this is the user area, right? The entire user area is divided into 4 blocks. In the first block, we have kept one process. In the second block, we kept one more process. In the third block, we kept one more process. All these processes are kept in the main memory for the execution. If you observe this blue color, here we are not keeping any of the process. That means it is a free block. Okay, till now we have only 3 processes in the main memory. Okay, what is the size of the what is the size of each process? For example, 30004 is a starting location of the process. So starting address of the process is called as a base address. It is called as a relocatable address. Base address or a relocatable address. Okay, base address, usually base register consists of the starting address 30004. Okay, and then what is the limit register? What it contains? The limit register is the size of the process. For example, 42094 is the ending address of the process. If you subtract 42094, if you subtract 3004 from 42094, automatically we will get 12090. Okay, this is the size of the process. For example, if it is 1000 and it is 1500, for example, then what is the base address? For example, it is 1000, assume, and it is 1500. What is the base address and what is the limit address values? Tell me. If it is 1000,
Base 1000, limit 1500.
no. Base 1000 and the limit is 500, not 1500. Why? Because we need to subtract 1500 from. We need to subtract 1500 sorry, you need to subtract 1000 from the 1500. Why? Because it is the size of the process. Here also 42904 minus 3004. Then we get 12090. Okay. So here the value is, for example, here the value is 2000 and here the value is a 3000. And the program starts at the 2000 location and it ends at the 3000 location. Then what is the size of the process? The program starts at 2000 location and the program ends at 3000 location. Then what is the base address value and what is the limit value? Tell me. The program starts at 2000 location and the program ends at 3000 location. What is the value of the base address and what value in limit register? Tell me. I already told you process starts at 2000 and program ends at 3000. Then what is the base address? What is the limit value? Any one of you? If you are not giving the answer, how can I know whether you are following or not? How can I know? 70 participants are there. So it is a simple question. So, but you are not able to give the answer.
2000 is base address, 1000 is limit address.
Right. So why? Because I already told you the process starts at 2000 location. The starting address will be kept in the base register. Here also the starting address will be kept in the base address. And next, what about the limit? So
3000.
we told you 3000 is the ending address. So 3000 minus 2000 automatically will get the 1000. That is the
1000.
size. We will need to keep in the limit register. Okay. Here also the program starts at 3004. That is the reason why we keep it in the base address. It is a starting address of the process. And next, what is the ending address of this process? 42094. So how can we get the limit value? We need to subtract the base value from this ending value, ending address. 42094 minus 3004. That is 12090. In our example, I told process starts at 2000 and ends at 3000. So 2000 is the base value and 3000 minus 2000, 1000 is the limit value. Okay. Next, one more thing. So whenever the process trying to access the while execution, whenever the process will try to access the information which is available in the 3003, that means it is not the address of the process. Okay. Or the process may try to access 42095, then it will be considered as a illegal. So why? Because the process memory is from 30004 to 42094. Okay. The process completes execution within this memory address only. It should not move to this memory location which is available allocated to the some other process, or it should not try to access the information which is allocated to this process. Whenever it is try to access the address space of other processes, automatically it will be considered as a illegal operation and the process will be abnormally terminated. Abnormal termination means it will be terminated in the middle of the execution. Okay. And the next, binding of instructions and data to the memory. So binding means assigning memory addresses to that particular instructions or data. Okay. In how many stages we can bind the address to the instructions, bind the memory address to the instructions and the data. So there are 3 stages. The first one is the compile time, and the second time is the load time, and the third one is the execution time. So compile time means at the time of compilation, if the memory location is known to you priorly, then automatically the absolute address will be generated at the time of compilation. Okay, so whenever you want to change your address, after some time the process will be moved from one memory to another memory location. And in sometimes the program may be swapped out from the main memory and swapping into the main memory later. That is called as swapping. It will be done by the middle term scheduler. Okay, so the program may be swapped out and swap in. So at that time the program may be available in some other address space. So at that time you need to recompile your code. The starting location changes. So what I mean to say is, so in some situations the program might change its starting address. That means base address. So why means might be the program may be moved from the main memory, and later time the program may be again moved into the main memory. Moved in means swap in. So swap into the main memory. At that time the address might be changed. Okay, so at that time you need to recompile the code again. Okay, so what are the stages for address binding to the information or data? First one is a compile time. If not compile time, so we need to bind the address at the time of loading the program. That is called as a load time. Okay, if the memory location is not known at the compile time, where the memory was allocated to that particular process is not known at the compile time, you can bind the address to the data or information at the time of loading. So if the address is not known even at the compile time or load time, so binding will be delayed to the runtime. That means, so at the time of running a process, the address binding will be happen. Okay, that is the thing. So this is the source program. So this is very important time. In 3 stages, there is a chance to bind an address to the information or data. Okay, compile time, load time, execution time. So whenever you compile the program, you might bind the address to the information if the memory location is known to you. If the memory location is not known to you, that means you don't know where the memory address, starting address of that particular process, so automatically it will be postponed to load time. So if it is also not known at the load time, so automatically the address binding to the information will be delayed to execution time. So it might be at the compile time, or it might be at the load time, or it might be at the execution time. Okay, and then multi-step processing of a user program. And whenever you want to execute a program, exactly what happened in your system. As you know, whenever you want to execute a program, before execution you need to store your program. So you need to store the program in the secondary memory disk. It might be the C drive or D drive. So whatever the drive you want to save, you can save the program into one folder. Okay, so after saving, so you want to run the program. Whenever you want to run the program need to be moved from secondary memory to main memory. So you need to keep the program into the main memory. So once the memory was allocated to the process, then automatically the process need to be compiled by the compiler. Okay, for error checking and all. So after the compilation, so the object modules, and if there is any library, for example, while you are running a program, so automatically after the compilation, what will generate it? The object file will be generated, and a program requires some other libraries. So those other modules might be added to the linkage editor. Okay, are you got my point or not? So after compilation, what we will get? We'll get the object file .o extension file. So program.c, for example, your program is prime.c. After execution, what will get? One object code will be generated. So this object code will be loaded into the main memory at the load time. So the loader will try to load it into the main memory. And next, one more thing what you need to understand, your program might require some other modules in order to complete its task. So for example, while you are running, there initially you might include some header files, stdio.h, conio.h, math.h. So at that time in your program, you might note sqrt of 2 comma 3. Sqrt of 2 comma 3 means square root of sqrt of 2, sorry, sqrt of 2 or POW of 2 comma 3. POW means power function. That means you need to know 2 power 3. Okay, like that you want to um, calculate the square root of a value, sqrt of 4, right? At that time your program does not have a code for all those functions. So where the code of that particular functions available, square root function and power function, all those are available in a math module. That is the reason why whenever you are using those functions in your program, you need to include that module in the top of a program. That is include stdio.h, after that include math.h. Okay, so why? Because the math module contains all these modules, functions, code. Okay, so all those are added to your program. Okay, after that it will be loaded into the main memory. Then after that you need to execute the program. Okay, that is the thing. So we need to compile, and then compiler will take, and then if there is any addition of other library functions to your program, the linkage editor will take care. After that you need to load the program, and then you need to execute the program. That is those are the steps. Okay, is there any doubts till now? And the next one is a memory management unit. So I don't want to discuss the memory management unit right now. So let me explain the dynamic loading and dynamic linking first. Okay. Better I would like to talk about this one, logical and physical address space, right? So there are two types of addresses. First one is a logical address and the second one is a physical address. So this topic is very important with respect to your gate or any in interview. The interviewer might ask you this question, right? So what is a logical address and what is a physical address, and what is a logical address space and what is a physical address space? Logical address is also called as a virtual address. It is generated by the CPU. Logical address is also called as a virtual address. It is generated by the CPU and it is not real address. Okay, these are the three things you need to understand. The logical address is generated by the CPU. It is also called as a virtual address. Why? Because it is not a real address. That is the virtual means not real, right? And the next one, physical address. So physical address is the actual address. That means physical address is a real address. Okay. And the next point, what you need to know, the set of logical addresses is called as logical address space. The set of physical addresses is called as physical address space. Okay. The logical address is generated by the CPU and the physical address is the actual generated address. Okay, real address. And next, what is logical and what is physical? So you might have some confusion. So I will explain you with one example. Meanwhile, you need to understand this one. You need to remember this point. The logical address is generated by the CPU. The physical address is the real address. Okay. The logical address is also called as a virtual address and it is not real. Okay. And the next point is the set of logical addresses is called as logical address space and the set of physical address is called as physical address spaces. Okay. Usually the user will deal with the logical address. User does not know about the real address. Okay, user does not have any idea about the memory addresses, memory locations where the process is available in the main memory. The user does not know about the main memory address where the process actually resides in the main memory. The user does not have any idea. User deals with the logical address only. He doesn't have any idea about the memory addresses where the process is available in the main memory. Okay. And the next one, logical and physical addresses are same at the time of compiling and loading. When they will be differ, logical and what physical addresses are differ at the time of execution. Okay, so these are the points you need to understand. So there are, first of all, you everything you no need to understand right now. Okay, you need to know only one thing. There are two types of addresses. The first one is a logical address and the second one is a physical address. Physical address is the actual address. Okay, logical address is generated by the CPU. User deals with the logical address only. User does not know about the real address or the actual address of the process where it is in the main memory. Okay, and the set of logical addresses is called as logical address space and the set of physical address space is called as physical address space. Okay, so then who will convert in order to access the, in order to execute the program, we need to know the physical address, but we don't know, the user does not know about the physical address. Then how can we execute the program? That is my question. Have you got my point? So actually CPU is generating the address, that is a logical address. It is not real, I told you. And the program is, process is available in one memory address, that is a real address, but it is a logical address and it is not real address. Then how can the CPU execute the program or a process? How can the CPU execute the process? It is generating a logical address and I told you it is a not a real address. Then there is a device called as memory management unit. Okay, so the memory management unit will take the logical address from the CPU. That means the CPU generated logical address will be sent to the memory management unit, MMU. So it takes the logical address generated by the CPU and convert into the physical address so that we'll move to the actual memory location so that CPU can access the or execute the instructions available in that particular memory location. Okay, now right. So what I told you, the CPU generated logical address is given to the MMU. MMU means memory management unit. What is the responsibility of memory management unit? It takes the logical address generated by the CPU and convert into the physical address. Very, very, very important question. What is the responsibility or a role of a memory management unit? The memory management unit will convert the logical address into the physical address. Okay, what is logical address? CPU generated address is called as a logical address or virtual address. So it is a logical address. Why? Because CPU generated address. What it is? 346 is the logical address. Okay, then what MMU will do? MMU will take this logical address 346 and 14,000 is the relocation register. What is a relocation register? Relocation register is nothing but a base address. What is a base address? What is base address? What is base address? 3004. What is it? It is the starting address of the process. Starting address location of the process in the main memory. Okay. The starting address is called as a base address, which is available in the base register. It is also called as a relocation register. Okay, 14,000 value is the starting value. Okay, what we have to do, CPU is willing to access the 346th location in a process. So automatically the 346 will be added to 14,000. So we'll get 14,346. 14,346. Okay. And it's sent to the memory for accessing. Are you got my point? So whenever the CPU generate the logical address, this logical address will be taken by the MMU, memory management unit, and it will be added to the value which is available in the relocation register. That is 14,000 for example. So 14,000 plus 346 is 14,346. It will be the actual physical address. These 14,346 is not known to the user. Okay. User always thinks that user process will start from 0, for example. So user contains 0 to 500 locations. It requires 0 to 500 locations. Okay, whenever the CPU generate 50, what happened? So in the process, the program is available in the 1000 location. So CPU generated address is 50. So and the CPU want to execute the 50th location information. So what happened? 1000 is added to the added to 50. So we'll get 1050. That is the actual address, actual physical address, actual or physical address, logical or virtual address. Okay. So who is responsible for converting the logical address into physical address? The memory management unit is responsible for converting the logical address into physical address. Okay, now this is a memory management unit. Now you able to understand. Memory management unit is a hardware device. What it will do? It maps virtual to physical address. Maps to virtual to physical means virtual means logical. Another name for the logical address is virtual address, right? So hardware device, it is a hardware device that maps virtual address to physical address. Okay, how can it convert a logical address into physical address? The value in the relocation register is added to every address generated by the user process. At that time, it is sent to the memory. Observe here, whatever the address generated by the CPU will be added to the relocation register value to get the physical address. Like that, whatever the logical address generated by the CPU, all those addresses will be added to the relocation register value in order to get the actual physical value. So it is the responsibility of memory management unit to add the relocation register value to the logical address so that it can generate the physical address. Okay. The user program deals with the logical addresses. It never sees the real physical address. I already told you multiple times, the user program does not know about the physical address. It always deals with the logical addresses. What is a logical address? CPU generated address is called as a logical address. What is a physical address? Actually, where the process is available in the main memory. Actual address is called as physical address. Okay. And the next one, dynamic loading. What is dynamic loading? Routine or a function, both a module, all are same. Okay. Dynamic loading. Okay. What is loading? First of all, what is loading? In order to run your program, you need to load your program into the main memory for the execution. Okay. So in some situations, whenever you want to run that particular module, better you should not load entire program, and you should not allocate entire memory to the program at once. Why? Because during its execution, the program needs might be changed. That means the program might require more memory than allocated. Why? Because while you are executing, some other modules are added, also added to your program space. So if you go to the previous diagram, observe here. So when you are loading a module, so automatically system library and other dynamically loaded system libraries are added to your program. Other object modules all are added to your program. That means the memory needs might be changed while you are executing the program. Okay, that is the reason why dynamic loading means you are allocating a memory to the process dynamically. That means at the time of executing the program, you are the operating system allocates memory to the program, not prior to the execution. Dynamic means runtime, execution time. At the time of executing or running your process, okay, operating system will be allocated the memory, okay, in order to better utilizing the memory. Okay, if it is a large amount of code, you no need to keep your entire program into the main memory. Okay, so you can load a part of a code. So whatever you are going to run right now, for example, in your program there are 4 routines. That means there are 4, the program is divided into 4 sub programs. You write the program like that, right? So whenever you want to execute that particular first portion, so better to keep that first portion into the main memory and keep the remaining part in the secondary memory itself. So after executing the first portion, at the time of execution, you can move, you can swap out that particular portion and you can swap in the required portion into the main memory. So that is called as dynamic loading. You no need to keep entire program into the main memory. You can keep routines into the main memory at the time of execution. Okay, so that you can save the memory space. If you give a small space to the process, to the individual process, automatically you can keep more number of process in the main memory. Okay, for example, you invite 4 friends to your birthday party. The cake is divided into only 4 partitions. And next you can eat a quarter piece, right? Whenever you invite 8 members to the birthday party, you need to give a small piece of cake to everyone. If you call 16 members, so automatically the piece will be less, like that. So whenever you want to increase the multi-programming, you want to keep multiple number of programs into the main memory, so automatically what you need to do, you need to assign small amount of memory to the individual process. The entire main memory is of user memory is 1000 KB, for example. Okay, each and every process requires 200 KB. How many process you can keep? 5 process. If we keep the entire process into the main memory, 200 into 5 means 1000. So you can keep 5 process into the main memory. For example, if you want to keep 10 process into the main memory, what you want to do? So you will give only 100 KB to individual process. So that 100 into 10, 1000. So that you can keep 10 process into the main memory. Okay. So dynamic loading means dynamic loading means at the time of executing, at the time of runtime, you are dynamically load the program routines into the main memory. Okay, so that memory utilization will be the more. Okay, there is no special support from the operating system required for this one. And the next one is a dynamic linking. So what is dynamic linking? So automatically there is a code called as a stub. Remember this word, it is very, very important. Stub, very, very important. So I already told you 4 things what you need to remember. The first one is what is logical address. Logical address is generated by the CPU. Okay, CPU generated address is called as a logical address. It is also called as virtual address. and it is not real. What is physical address? The actual address is called as a physical address. Okay. Set of logical addresses is called as logical address space. Set of physical address is called as physical address space. And the next point what you need to remember is what is the responsibility or a role of memory management unit. Memory management unit is a hardware device. It converts the logical address into physical address. And the next point what you need to remember is stub. Okay. Dynamic loading means at the time of execution you are loading the program. Dynamic linking means the linking is postponed till execution time, and at the time of running you are linking the modules. Small piece of code. Stub is a software. It is not a hardware. Memory management unit is a hardware, but stub is like a routine, small piece of code. What is the purpose of stub? It is used to locate the appropriate memory resident library routine. It is used to locate. That means whenever you are running a program, you require other routines to accomplish your task. As I told you, so when you are executing a program which is having a mathematical functions, POW or like SQRT, or you are dealing with the string functions, strlen, string length, strupr, that means you need to convert the lowercase letters of a string into uppercase letters. strlwr, string lower. Okay, so in order to do all these functionalities, in order to work with all these functionalities, so you need to include one header. So what is it? In order to use the string functionalities, you need to include string.h. In order to work with the mathematical functions like power, POW and SQRT, you need to include math.h. Whenever you want to work with input-output operation, printf, scanf operations in your program, so what you need to include? stdio.h. stdio means standard input-output. Okay, so why you include all those things? Whenever that particular instruction you want to execute, whenever that particular line encounters, like SQRT of 4, automatically SQRT code is not available in your program, right? SQRT program is not available in your program. Where it is available? It is available inside of your C package. So you need to get that code from that particular package, right? So whenever you want to execute that particular statement, so you need to know the address of that particular routine. Routine means code of that particular power function, code of that particular SQRT function, code of strlen, code of strupr. You need to add that particular routines to your program. Then only the program can able to finish its execution. Okay, so automatically what it will do? The stub replaces itself with the address of the routine. So what the stub will do? The stub will replace its code with a address of that routine. So whatever the routine you want to you require for executing your program, that routine address will be replaced with the stub and executes that routine. Okay, operating system needed to check if the routine is in process memory address, and for every process there is some memory location, right? So what is the, I already told you, 30004 to 30004 to 42094. This is the process address space. Okay, so whatever we want to execute, that everything need to be in the allocated memory slot only. It should not violate that one. That is called as memory protection. Whatever you want to execute, those two things must be in the, that instructions must be in the process address space only. That means it is in between the base and limit only. It should not move upper or it should not move to the lower addresses. Okay, so that is called as dynamic linking. Dynamic linking means You are linking some other routines to your actual program. What happened? Is the time over now? Okay. Is there any doubt? Till now, is there any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We move to the, if time per, I will take the afternoon class from 1:30 to 2:30. Okay. So all of you please attend to the afternoon session. Most of you are not attending to the class. Don't depend on the recorded sessions. Try to attend to the normal regular classes. So why? Because these sessions are interactive. When I'm asking you question, you are able to understand. If you are not able to understand, you can ask me at the time of delivering the lecture itself, right? So don't forget to attend don't underestimate the online classes. Don't dependent on recorded videos. Okay. Thank you.